Welcome to Malcolm Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcolm and Rochelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcolm Reed, joined by my lovely and talented wife on my side of the table today, Miss Southern Shell. How are you?
Good.
Doing good. We got Tyler down there, and we got a special guest in your seat today, Shell.
Yeah, we got Mark Williams from Swine Life BBQ.
Y'all keep saying special.
Just
It's no longer special.
Mark is back.
Mark's back.
Mark's back. No, we brought Mark back in today because it's 13 days now until we'll be downtown on the river cooking Memphis in May.
I don't know if I'm ready.
You're not ready?
I don't know.
Oh,
There's
shoot.
There's no turning back.
There's
now.
no
I'm ready. Always ready.
I always get nervous about
It's fixing to start raining tomorrow and rain for the next 8 days.
So it's going to be perfect weather.
Oh,
I hope.
Is Music Fest this weekend? Yeah, it is.
Is
It's
it?
going to be a mud hole down there. Have y'all seen the new park layout? They put out a video on YouTube. Oh, you need to pull it up and watch it. And look at all the stuff they did to it.
Look at all-
Really? Have y'all seen it?
It's
I seen
It's very weird.
like a topo picture of
Yeah.
It doesn't look like I was expecting big hills and stuff. I didn't see that.
It looks
in the
nice.
video. It looks nice, but it's like
It's not festival ready.
no, it doesn't even look like a place you'd have a festival now.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if it's like it looks like a lot of places where people get murdered. It's like got a lot of hiding places. Knowing Memphis, I'm just saying. I don't know. I wouldn't just get out there and hang out, I don't think. It used to be just open, it was a nice
Yeah,
park.
yeah.
You could run fast in the
You
open.
could fly a kite, you could run fast. Yeah. Now you got places to duck and hide and
Bob and weave.
Yeah. So I don't know, man, but it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to set up now because we've seen the team layout and they're just sticking teams in places where they don't have stuff, but they've put a lot of stuff in there. Like there's this big, I don't know what it is, if it's like a woodchuck up against this big slide thing standing up.
It ain't
There's
Bucky,
like
is it?
it looks like something like that. I don't know if it's supposed to be a beaver or a river rat or what. but
Nutria.
they've because I guess they added stuff for kids. It's got like Playland stuff on it. It's got and then it's got like a big I wouldn't call it a pavilion. It's kind of, I don't know, it's weird. You need to look at it.
We need
It's
to look
very
at it.
like interpretive, like park interpretive, what they've done.
It's a new age park.
It's a new age park with no parking. That's the crazy thing. Well, that was some of the biggest complaints that I saw, and people posted that was, where do you park? You can't see any parking spots. They used to have turn-ins
Yeah.
that had parking spots for Tom Lee Park. Now I think all that's gone. So I guess you have to park at. They said they're building a garage down at Bill in front, so you're going to have to park down there, and to get to where like the park stuff is, the Playland stuff. Oh, that's probably 3/4 of a mile.
So you pay to park, pay to get your car robbed,
Yeah.
and then you got to walk
Yeah.
to the park,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
Uber home because
It's
your
going to
car's
be
gone.
interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Real quick, I wanted to bring up the old Metairie Crawfish Festival in Cook-Off.
Yes. Oh man, I'm missing that. I hate it, Shell.
May 13th. We went last year. We can't make it this year because of Memphis in May, but they asked us to spread the word for them.
Yeah, so this is. I want to say it's
Mark,
$35.
you would love it.
If you haven't got your ticket yet, it's only $35, and it is all you can eat crawfish. It's a crawfish contest to where they're raising money for the children's school there. I think that's what it is,
Yeah.
the church.
I'm not really sure, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's in a cool part of Metairie. It's like a older part. I guess it's called Old Metairie. But it is, man, you talk about a crawfish festival. It was a blast.
It's like everybody has like a 10 by 10 spot and they're cooking
bigger than
and
that.
serving bigger than that 10
Yeah.
by 20 spot.
Yeah, at least.
something like that. Anyway, they're serving all the people walking around. So you can walk to each little booth, which there's probably 80 booths,
At least.
and get a
Boat of
boat of crawfish.
See,
Yeah.
we talked about that last year.
Oh, I'd
Like,
love to do one.
I want to do one, but I think a lot of, like, even me, I'm guilty of it. You don't think about, you can cook one good pot of crawfish, when you're cooking on your back porch, but you're cooking for hours on end, and you got to duplicate that recipe
Yeah. Well,
over and over.
so it's different. It's not just a people's choice. I think there is a people's choice element where you
Yeah.
get to vote because they give you, like when you go through the security to get in, show them your tickets, they give you so many tickets. And that's how you kind of do people's choice. But the main part of that one is you get a sack of crawfish, you turn in one box, nothing in it. It can only be crawfish. No, you're not putting potatoes, corn, sausage, all that stuff. Just crawfish. And they actually had like a judging area where we sat down. I think there was 6 judges on a table, and we judged, I don't know, 10 to 14, somewhere in there. There was a pretty good bit of entries. But as a judge, you only got one crawfish. Like they ask you, go in, get you a crawfish, try it. If you need to go back for another one, you can. But you're not sitting there just eating all the crawfish you can while you're judging.
Right.
And so they do it, and when they get it down to like the top 10, they do another round where you make another box, and you go back to it and judge that again. So that was pretty cool.
I'd love to put it on. Like I would love to figure out a way to organize that and put it on.
Here's the thing.
They had a frozen.
You got to have somewhere to put all them crawfishes after.
Yes.
You need
That's
a
a lot
big
of
roll
waste.
off or something
Yes.
that they're coming to get the next day.
Yes.
That's
I can
my
only
problem.
imagine. Oh God, that's got to be bad.
I don't like cooking crawfish at the house. I can honestly say that because my garbage can gets ripe.
It must be bad. It's been most of the time we've cooked at y'all's house, and this past year I'm like, you want to do it at y'all's? Oh, we'll do it at yours. We're going to your
You
house.
asked me the other day, you want to come eat crawfish? No, you want to cook them, not at the house.
There was one time we had bought like some garbage can, filled it up with crawfish shells, set it at the end of the road, and they refused to pick it up
They would
because it
not
wasn't their.
I remember
garbage.
that.
Yeah.
We were like, what do we do
What do we do?
now?
Find a dump.
Man, that's so bad.
I think we picked it up and set it down in the
We
the
put it in the
rollout
other one.
thing, and then they got it. I don't think they knew what was in there.
Oh, they knew. You can't sneak that by.
Man, back when I was running contests, and in the summer, you're putting all your trim in there. Like our garbage picks up on Tuesday. I trim meat on Wednesday. So trim was staying in the heat of the summer in our house garbage can until we rolled it out next Tuesday. There'd be buzzards circling. I mean, it was bad. I know the neighbors hated it.
When I had
It
my
was horrible.
gallbladder
You didn't
surgery.
want to walk on that side of the house, Mark.
Heck no. I had my gallbladder surgery a couple of weeks ago, and the weekend before, we cooked a hog, and I cooked 2 sacks of crawfish at the house. So all that was in my dumpster. And, of course, I just had surgery on Monday, so I couldn't haul it to the road. And I said, hey, Emily,
Oh.
carry that garbage can to the road? Oh, it was bad.
Did she
No, she got her daddy to come over and do it.
really?
Yes. Which it
Yeah.
was like, it was.
Your driveway is 800 yards long.
Oh,
It's a quarter mile.
his love. Oh.
In its heels.
Was he haul it out there? Cause you can.
I got a thing that goes on the ball of your truck.
Okay.
Oh, and you hook it up.
Yeah.
Man, if that thing would have broken,
I told him, I said, if it falls off, just keep going.
What do you-
Don't stop. Just don't worry about
hope
it.
the coyotes or buzzards or something come get it.
It's nothing worse. You throw some hog meat on top of some crawfish, and it
Oh
is
God.
bad.
Didn't y'all have one that y'all put in a drum and put the lid on and closed
Closed it up.
Left it.
That's when I worked at Cat.
Oh man.
I guess when we first got married, we had a crawfish party, and
Work.
huh?
At your work or
No, we had it at my house.
Oh.
So I got one of the big 55-gallon drums from work, and it's got like a band clamp. You seal the lid on, and you seal it tight. And I was like, man, that'd be perfect. So we threw all the crawfish heads in there. I mean, everything, empty beer cans, whatever, all went in there. Put the lid on it, clamped it down with the impact, put it in bed in my truck, carried it to work, threw it in a big roll-off. Well, I didn't think about it. When our roll-off got full, our yard man would take an excavator and smush it down flat and make it hold more. So we're in the shop working, and we're 50, 60 yards from this dumpster. And I didn't think nothing about it. I'm like, good Lord, what is that smell? Of course, Memphis has its own smell in the summer and the morning.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, something has died. Like, that is terrible. And I look, and I see the guy with the excavator smushing the garbage down. He comes in running. He's like, I don't know what's in that dumpster.
Dead body was
He
in
had done
there.
busted that drum, and it's been in there probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh God.
You know, because I mean, it was a big roll-off dumpster. They emptied it like once a month
Yeah.
When it gets full.
when it gets full.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was bad. And I'm like, I told Hunter, I was like, don't say nothing about it. I don't know what's out there. Oh, it was bad. It was terrible.
Well, tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, isn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
Today, Cinco de
Yeah,
Four.
National
Four.
Star Wars Day.
Today is today is
be
May the
with you.
4th. May the
Yeah.
4th be with you. And tomorrow is Cinco. That's right. The 5th of May. It's pretty much ought to be called Corona Day.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think it has anything to do with
Yeah.
like a true Mexican holiday. I mean, it's
If you celebrate Cinco de Mayo by eating Mexican food and drinking margaritas, I celebrate it weekly. Or I try to.
Yeah, that's a once a week thing. Friday de Mayo, whatever that needs to be. That's what you need to call it. That's every Friday. You know, I've learned.
If you have a good week, it's a Friday.
I've learned Saturday is the better day in Hernando to go to the Mexican restaurants because everybody goes like Thursday, then Friday. But you go on Saturday,
they're all
hurting.
tired, yeah.
Everybody's at home. You go in, you don't have to wait. You know, you get better service. The food's really good. So we started going on Saturdays. I would not go. I went to my last Cinco de Mayo in Hernando last year. It was terrible.
That's when we got up there at like 3:30, didn't we?
No, we went to the one over by Kroger.
I think that's been 2 years ago.
Has it been 2 years ago? Yeah. It was on, and like you had to wait to get a table, and then you couldn't get anything. They had a band out there playing. I mean, it was if you wanted to party, it was fun because we had to walk to a beer store and like pass beer over the fence because we couldn't get it to. They couldn't have enough servers to serve everybody that was there, and you could hang up eating. There was no chips and salsa. There was no, there was no getting a cheese dip. It was like you saw your server when they set you. She brought you one drink, and that was about it. And then you had to find somebody to bring your ticket to you.
Have you gone to Cinco de Mayo at 3:00?
I want to say we did last year. I think I've only been one time at a restaurant.
Is that what you were getting at? What I'm doing tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Day drinking. That sounds like
after you do your reflect and relax time.
Yeah, I could reflect and relax at La Siesta. I didn't even think about that.
You got to get there early.
I can put the
be out of there
binge
by
watching
5.
Peaky Blinders on hold.
We could be out of there by 5, 6 o'clock.
I think that is a fantastic idea. We can be out of there before the school bus gets home if we start early enough.
They do serve breakfast, so
That's a good.
Do a Mexican restaurant crawl.
Office Cinco de Mayo start at breakfast. What time do they open? They got to open at 6:30 probably.
Yeah,
that's too early.
Yeah, they do.
That's too early. I'm thinking brunchish.
It sounds like a hospital trip.
Let's do brunch de Mayo.
I tell you, man, I went and got breakfast last weekend. Me and Emily went up there, and I got it was when we come back from the Morgan Wallen concert, and I got their breakfast enchiladas. Dude, I'd order that 3 times a day.
They put an egg on top.
Egg on top over easy.
Oh, that sounds good. What was inside?
Just cheese. But they had the enchilada sauce was bright red, and it was like super spicy. And I went up there for lunch on Sunday. I was like, man, I want the breakfast enchiladas. He said, we only make that sauce for breakfast. I was like, man, you got to be kidding.
What was it, like a ranchero sauce or like a red?
It was a red sauce, but it wasn't a ranchero sauce.
Yeah.
It was like, had a little citrus, had some lime, and had a ton of heat, but it was good. Served it with some rice and beans. I want it every day.
You just gave me an idea.
There you go. I seen you writing it down.
I'll write that down.
What'd you write down?
Breakfast enchiladas. Not to eat, to do.
Yeah. That's a really good recipe.
But they done them like
my version of it.
What is how you say it, Shell? You say it better, Malcolm. The
Birria.
Yeah. They do it like that. Like the enchiladas, like dipped in the red sauce and then cooked on the flat top. So good.
So good.
Speaking of Birria.
Is that how you say? I could not say that.
Birria.
I don't think that's how you say it either. That sounds better, Malcolm.
Birria. Birria. I don't know how to say it.
So you did beef cheek tacos.
Yes, and the whole thing about that was so good is those beef cheeks I got from Kevin. I mean, these were Wagyu beef cheeks from the butcher shop, Pensacola, Florida. Shout out to Kevin. And when you cook them down, they were so tender. There's still some of it left in the refrigerator. I went by the other day and just got me a pinch out. Just tried it cold. It's still just blow you away. It's amazing.
So how'd you cook them? Tell Mark how you cooked them.
See,
because I didn't get to try none, so
there's still some in the refrigerator. You could, film day. You got to come over on film day to try stuff. So the first thing I did, I fired up the pellet grill. Had the grilla silverback rolling. Put some gringo on those cheeks, and man, a lot of times if I go to Sam's and buy cheeks, they come in the big pack and they are nasty. You got to trim on them.
Lot to
take off. These I got from Kevin were really, really clean. I took off a little bit of the silver skin. That was about it. There wasn't much else to trim. And seasoned with Grande Gringo. That was it. Really heavy, though, because I wanted it to drive some flavor. And I put them on the pellet grill at 250 for they may have been on an hour and 45. I just wanted to set that. It's almost like mimicking browning them in a skillet. Just getting some reaction on the surface of them, kind of building a little bit of a bark or a crust. And then while that was doing that, the Birria Tacos is all about that consomme or that broth that you cook your meat in, because it's basically like a Mexican stew, pot roast. And so what I did was I took some of those dried, the guajillo, the ancho, chile de árbol peppers, the dry ones that you see on the Hispanic aisle, and I put them in a pot of boiling water with some onion and garlic and a bunch more gringo just to build them with some braising liquid. Once I got them hot for about 15 minutes, you boil them, and then you kind of turn it off and let them steep like you do tea. Those peppers get super soft. Move them over to a blender, add some cilantro, and add a little bit of crushed tomatoes, and it makes this. It's almost like a.
Looks like a salsa.
It almost looks like a salsa, like a red sauce.
Do you have to take the seeds out of the peppers?
I do. So all I do is, like, on those pods, they're dry and they're kind of crispy. I just take a knife and pop the ends off and then kind of squeeze them a little, and all the seeds fall out. If you leave them in, it's going to get hot as fire. But if you take the seeds out, and the ones like the guajillos and the anchos, they're not that hot. But those little chile de árboles, those things, like 2 of them, oh man, I'm talking about you need to put some gloves on, and I didn't. So they are hot. They are hot. I don't know what kind of pepper that is.
Did it burn you?
Oh yeah, no, they were like I read something that said these are, if you want heat, add more of those. And so I said they can't be that hot. It's just a little red dry pepper. No, it's hot. Like
you ought to done learned by what little red peppers can do to you.
Yeah. But anyway, you put those all in the blender and you blend it up till it's, it don't have to be smooth. It can be chunky a little. And then when those beef cheeks got some good color in them, I put them over in my Dutch oven.
How long did it take them to get the
About
color?
About an hour 45.
Yeah.
It's not long. I mean, you could do that. Like if you just wanted to grill them and get some color on them, you could do it in the Dutch oven and put a little oil in there and kind of brown them a little. I just thought the smoked element would give them a little more depth of flavor. So I put those in the Dutch oven, and I poured that chili peppery mixture all over them. And then I added, you're supposed to add like that liquid that you boiled them in, but I used beef broth because I wanted to kind of concentrate some more flavors. And then if you need any more liquid, I can always ladle some of that braising liquid that you made over. But I put the lid on them and then stuck them on there and jacked the temperature up to 350 and let them go until they were fall apart tender. It took them right at 3 hours.
That ain't bad.
Something like that. No, it wasn't bad. So you're looking 4.5 hours-ish tops. And then once they get done, you just want to take the lid off and see if they're fork tender or whatever. And whenever you can pull them apart, you just pull them out of that liquid. Save that liquid because that's what you want. That's liquid gold, red liquid gold. But it makes like this beef consomme. And a lot of times it'll be chunky depending on how much moisture is cooked out. You need to get some of the fat off of it because beef cheeks are fatty, especially that Wagyu. I just kind of ladle some of that up, skim the top. And then you can add some more liquid or more beef broth just to get it a little runnier if you want it. And you take that beef cheek, shred it all apart, and I set it over on the Weber flat top that I had and put a ladle of the liquid over it just to keep it kind of moist while it's sitting there off the eye. I didn't have that eye on the flat top. But then you take your tortilla shells, and traditionally they're supposed to be corn, but I'm not a huge fan of corn tortillas. I like them on enchiladas, but
if they're cooked, they're really good. But like by themselves, they're just like.
Well, you
thing,
always have to like double them up to make a good taco because they break real easy. I guess they have so much lard in them they fall apart. The flour tortilla will hold up, so I go with gringo style flour. That's what they tell me. You want gringo at the restaurant because I guess that means people that aren't Mexican eat corn tortillas most of the time. But I use the flour ones, and so you dunk them back in that warm consomme braising liquid on both sides of the tortilla. And what that does, whatever fat that you couldn't skim off the top, it sticks to that tortilla. But you get the flavor too, and you throw that on the flat top first. Give it a 30-second head start, and it'll start kind of bubbling up like a tortilla does, and you flip it over. That's when you load on your pulled beef cheek, and you hit it with some just good Mexican melting cheese, like kind you can buy at Kroger, shredded up. Fold that over into a taco, cook it on about 30, 45 seconds each side until it gets crispy. And it's got this, I don't know, that consomme kind of gives it a yellowish, brownish, grilled looking color to it. And then when you pull it off, you open it up and the cheese is just all stringing and melted and bubbly. And you load it up with some cilantro and some fresh white onion and a little bit of thin sliced radish. And you dip it in little cups of that consomme. That's how you serve it. And that's what makes it so damn good.
That's
a long
really
explanation.
Well, do you want to go see if we can get something for the May the 4th and beat the crowd?
See, that was what I said. We need to go on Thursday night. But I like this brunch idea better.
I don't know about brunch.
I'll
but-
have time to go to brunch tomorrow before we go out of town, so that might be perfect.
Oh yeah, y'all are going to cook a contest,
Yeah.
right? You got to
Believe
do another hog. So, how many hogs?
That was one of my questions.
Oh, is that one of yours?
Yeah.
This is taking us right into hog cooking. You had first off, congratulations, y'all hit finals last week.
Finally hit finals.
How many contests was it before you hit finals?
3.
On your third one.
We had 2 fourths, and then we went into finals in second. And of course, my first time in finals, like I told y'all, I think I blacked out. I don't really remember what we talked about in the finals, and we come out of third overall.
But it's progressively getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah. So you got another contest this weekend. Where's it at?
It's in Bull, but it's right outside of Cleveland, right south of Cleveland, Mississippi. So
It's in
down
where?
in the Bull, Boyle.
Oh, okay.
Boyle.
Boil.
That's
Bull.
a terrible name.
Well, you say bull, I think BOIL, like
Me
crawfish
too.
bull.
Yeah,
But
it's in Bull.
boil. Is it? Yeah. I bet that's how they say it.
Ain't nobody down there complain how you say Bull. I promise.
Bull.
But no, we got that. But on to your question, how many hogs have I cooked this year
Yeah.
since January 1?
If you go back even
Is it over a
further-
dozen?
Yes.
Over a dozen?
Yeah, I think we're either right at 12 or might be 13 now. Real close.
The
And
one
then-
that you cooked with Jay in Senatobia at the hunt camp, was that
That's not even
before
included.
January?
No, that was.
That was after January.
Okay, so that's included too.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, it was like the second week in January, and we've already cooked 2 by then.
Yeah.
So that one was the third one.
But you
for the
cooked
year.
too, like New Year's. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, for New Year's, they went up to Indiana.
I forgot about that.
And then
Reason being, we're cooking on a new pit,
new pit.
and hog cooking's fairly new to y'all. It's definitely new to Jay on his pits.
I mean, we know how to cook pork. And granted, in your mind, you're thinking you're just cooking a lot more pork. And
Yeah.
you technically are, but there's a lot more goes into cooking a hog, and it's a lot more room for error. You know, you got a lot of stuff you got to get done at the same time and, you know, have different textures. And it's a learning game for us for sure.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, so when we're used to cooking hogs, we've always cooked them either on a water cooker or an old hickory.
Mhm.
So you either had dry convection heat or we've had that steam from the water pan underneath it. And that allowed us to really, slow the hog down and take a real, real long time to cook it. Well, it's a whole different ballgame when you go to cooking it on a stick burner, which is what we're doing. But the reason being, we got to talking to Jay about how good a flavor is we get off on pork off a drum, how it's that authentic barbecue flavor. And that reminded me of the barbecue that I had first tasted as a kid, where they were cooking it on these old smokehouses where they had the brick pits and they would cook the hogs on them and they would flip them, shovel the coals underneath them. And
only putting salt on the skin.
so Mark and Jay got to thinking, how could y'all come up with some way to do that for pork? And it started with one of his other pits trying to figure it out for butts, wasn't it,
Right.
for KCBS contest?
So it kind of goes back to what you said. You know, I've always wanted to cook on a cinder block pit, but I don't want to build a cinder block pit in my backyard and have to do something with it or.
And there's no taking it anywhere.
Yeah, like it is what it is. So years ago when we all started talking about this, we were just looking for that same style pit, but something that we can either put on a cart, roll it in the garage out of the way, or put it in storage, or have something you can move and take with you. And that idea snowballed from one thing to the next to the next to the next. And the first one we cooked on was at Jay's. I think it might have been 4th of July or sometime a couple years back, but it was similar to kind of what the hog pit is now. Kind of the same idea, but we wasn't sure how to maintain the fire underneath the hog and control the temp and still have all that fire underneath the hog, but still run 300, 325 degrees without it getting away from you.
Yeah.
And the first pit, it would get away from you. I mean, we cooked butts on it and just to see what it would do and
To get the airflow down,
To get the
figure
airflow
the tips
and-
out, all that stuff that you have to do with any new pit.
the airflow is completely different on this pit. It does some crazy things that until you start cooking on it and kind of seeing what it does, you really don't think about it. Like last weekend, the hog we cooked was a little bit bigger than what we normally do, and it was a little bit too big for the pit. So the pit was full. And to see with, that much airflow being blocked off, what the heat from underneath the hog was doing, you could see it plain as day. And the heat completely moved. Like it went to the other end of the pit, even though it never done that before. So it was cool to see that and learn that. Now we know. So now we know what we can get away with that size hog and a smaller hog and stuff like that. But it's been a learning process, no doubt. A long learning process, to say the least.
So do you think it cooks a better hog than, say, like a water cooker or RO hickory even or something like that? Do you think? I mean, just from what you've tried, would you say?
I like it better. I'm not going to say it cooks a better hog because, I mean, it cooks a dang good hog, but it's a different hog. It's a different flavor profile. I mean, we've cooked on water cookers, we've cooked on old hickory, and they all turn out a phenomenal product. I mean, you still have to learn that pit regardless. You know, they're not set it and forget it. You're still learning and running that pit. But, man, I love the flavor on this one. And it's unique, and it takes you back to a more of a eating hog.
Yeah.
Like, I've had hogs off water cookers, and really, I mean, especially if you're cooking a running style, it's hard to get flavor in that pig.
Well, it's you got to put it in there.
You have to put it in there.
You're not getting it from the pit.
And a lot of times, it's just a really good roasted pork flavor.
Yes.
It's not like to me, I don't pick up on crazy smoke. I don't pick up on any kind of flavor other. Yeah, whatever you put in, it's what you taste.
You're tasting the salt and the sugars you inject and all this brubs and stuff you put on the outside.
And it's good pork. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's winning championships every weekend. I mean, that's great pork. But this is fun, and this is a flavor. I promise you, and I've done it to y'all. I can pull a piece of bark off that shoulder and give it to you, and you close your eyes, and it's the most tender pork steak you've ever ate off a charcoal grill.
Yeah.
I mean, it tastes like a grilled pork chop.
See, that's the biggest thing to me when I taste, like, I'm not talking about any of the meat that's close to the top where you actually do get the smoke and the seasonings from it. Deep down in it, you get that old school pit flavor from the meat that's like down in the shank, or that's down, you know, even though like you're keeping the injection simple in it, it's not a whole lot of stuff in the injection, and you're not shooting it up because we don't want.
I don't think you need all that flavor.
Well,
when
the way you're
getting
cooking it, we don't need that much
grill.
moisture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These hogs have the marbling, the fattiness. They just need some flavor put to them. So you're not you're actually, it makes it easier on flavoring it to get it from your charcoal and your smoke and all the, you know, the pit itself than having to fudge or try to make up for lack of flavor is what I think.
What we noticed last week, and, you know, the biggest thing for us to learn is how to, when it comes to cooking hog, is the process of finishing it. You know, what you do to get the product from the hog to the box, what cuts goes in the box, how to pull the good stuff. That's what we've been learning and figuring out.
Yeah, competition
style.
Not how to make it taste good.
Not how to make it taste good.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Last weekend, and I'll put my hand on the Bible, I'll tell everybody this, and it's 100% truth. We did not doctor that hog one bit. It went from the hog, went through just a little bit of glazed sauce just to make it have some color, and it went in the box. And we tinned out in taste.
You weren't. That's pretty awesome.
You let the hog shine.
It was no finishing rubs. It was no salts at the end.
No butter dip.
No butter dip. It was strictly
pork base.
Hog in the box. Kept it simple. And I took a bite and I told Jamie, I was like, I'm scared if we put something on it, it's going to be too much. Like, it don't need nothing.
Yeah.
It'll fight it. Yeah.
And I was like, let's put it in the box, send it, see what happens. And I mean, it paid off. Now, granted, we got to get better about pulling and presenting. Like, that is something that's an art to it. Was I nervous? Yes. I was very nervous. Was Jamie nervous? Yes.
Now, was that one of those mangling hogs, or is that one of the?
That was from Home Place Pastures.
Home Place?
Yeah. It's a
Duroc Cross.
Duroc Cross, yeah. And it's a good hog. I mean, it's local. I love supporting local, and it's easy. I can call them on Monday, say, hey, I need a hog. I pick it up on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's good to go. So it's been fun.
For Memphis, we got some special hogs, so we got some of those manglings.
I'm anxious to see them because these have been fed out a lot longer than what we practice cook with.
Yeah.
So they got another 100 days of barley.
Wow.
Is it going to be a heavier pig?
Nope.
A bigger pig?
So
they're just controlling the diet of what they eat.
They're controlling the diet, and what we didn't realize, and I don't know if I talked to Daniel with BFR several times. What they didn't realize is they always figure 25 to 30% loss when they dress a hog out. So from hoof weight to what the weight you pay for when you cook it, they always figure that loss for everything from, you know, intestines to, you know, all the organs they remove, cleaning it up,
30% is what
25 to 30.
Really, I figured more.
That's
than
what
that.
you lose with guts
and all
talking
that.
about on the hoof versus
On the hoof versus hanging weight.
hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are only like 10 to 15.
That's what they lose is percentage wise, 10 to 15%.
So I don't understand.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
That seems
Like, I don't understand, but I will say when we got those hog, I've never seen that much, like the good fat, like all around the ribs and that fat that melts really good. I've never seen that much in hog. I mean, it was crazy.
The good lard.
The good lard, yes. You could throw this in a skillet and render it, and I mean, it was just pretty white. I mean, pretty fat.
What's the difference between good lard and bad lard?
I mean, when you get some fat like on a domestic hog, that's not necessarily. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't have the flavor.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same. The same flavor. It's. I mean, they've got fat, but they've bred. It's not intermuscular lard. It's not.
right.
Good.
It's not in the loin.
Kidney fat lard. You know what I'm talking about? That's what you want.
What I always try to do and can tell is, to me, good fat should crumble just like blue cheese.
Yeah, it's flaky.
It should be dry. So you can literally grab it and it'll crumble in your hand and you can mold it, whereas the fat that's not going to render, the fat that's not going to produce any flavor, is slimy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wet and tacky. It don't really it's not going to render. That dry fat, you can put it on a 100-degree pit,
It's starting to melt. It's starting to melt in your hand.
You put it out in the sunlight, it'll start melting.
Hold it in your hand.
Like butter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've learned a lot and still learning. And that's what I told a guy last weekend. I was like, I'm not saying that we know everything, because we don't, but I'm having fun doing it, And we're chasing something, and it's just, we're enjoying it. It's good. It's something different. It's a change of pace from what we were cooking all the time, And it's almost easier. I mean, really.
Have you joined my club where the whole hog is my favorite thing to cook? Would you say that honestly?
I think it is, but I'm tired of cooking them.
Hey, don't get you. We still got a few.
We got a
weeks
week
to go.
break.
Yeah.
It's been busy, and
You don't have a week break. You're going to cook a hog this weekend down in Bull, and then next weekend you got to load the trailer.
load it in. But I ain't cooking a hog next
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Unless you tell me to.
No, no,
And then I will.
no. It's you get a weekend off. We got to get the pits shined up.
Yeah, we got to clean some pits. But it's
So you've been cooking these hogs. What's the cleanup process like on these pits after you render all that fat in them? How bad is it?
so
Once you learn, I feel like it's not as hard as
the first one. So the first hog pit, HAWG hog pit, is kind of the prototype. It has a different fire rack underneath the hog, so it's got drip pans. So once you pull the charcoal grate out, you let the pit cool. You just take a flat bladed hoe, rake it up, and I mean you can have it clean in 10 minutes. It's fairly easy.
Yeah.
The new pit has a taller, like, charcoal basket in. You slide it all the way out, and it's just a smooth surface. Same thing. You just let that fat kind of congeal, take your little shovel and hoe, and shoop, clean to go, wipe it out. You're good to go.
So you're not having to wash it, pressure wash it.
I haven't put a pressure washer in it yet. Now I'm probably gonna wash them before Memphis, because
They ought to be seasoned though, right?
They seasoned. I guarantee you they seasoned.
Isn't that a good thing?
Oh yeah. I just want to get all the grease out of the bottom. I'm not worried about the top. Like, we're not going to wash the top. I want to have a clean slate when we go to Memphis.
Yeah, you don't want any standing grease in it, because that'll go rancid, and then when you heat it back up, you can get some of that off smell. You definitely don't want that.
And it's an easy pit to run. I mean, we've got it now to figure it out to where we're literally shoveling coal, and like last weekend, I might have put 2 scoops of coal underneath that hog for the entire cook.
What are we starting? Like, you starting the pit just the same old way, charcoal basket in the base, and then get a bed of hot coals, and then switch into hickory.
Straight hickory.
Running hickory, and then we run some supplements just for flavor, but that's not the main heat. The hickory is the main heat.
I noticed cooking on the stick burners. I mean, I love the way cherry and pecan smells on a stick burner, but they do not maintain a coal bed. They go to ash. They go quick. Whereas if you get some good hickory, especially like some center cut, it'll keep coal in there no problem. I mean, you might do a split an hour, if that. And I mean, you open it up and you got a coal bed. I mean, it's the size of a full-size steam pan, a coal bed that's maintaining, and you never have to add charcoal back to it. It keeps that coal bed going.
So underneath the hog, are you just running coals from that fire? Picking that basket up and moving it underneath the hog?
So that's how we start it. And then once I get a good coal bed under the hog, same thing, that hickory coal bed stays in there. We just scoop briquettes or lump or whatever. I'll have me a little tote right there.
Pre-lit or
no, not
unlit?
lit.
Oh, really?
And I rake it all to one side of that fire basket, and I put me a row unlit, and I let it feed.
Just like we're running old backwoods basket.
Same way.
And just letting it soldier forward.
And then I'll start everything out from under the hog, and then about 2 to 3 hours in, I gradually step those coals out from under that hog and just use residual heat on the bottom. Because it's at one point, you're done adding all you're going to add,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because really that's for flavor on this pit. We're wanting that hog to render. We're wanting that fat to drip. We're wanting it to hit those coals. And as it mixes with the other heat and the airflow from the exhaust drawing it through that pit, it's circling that hog, and you're getting that flavor in the meat.
We had a guy come down, I guess it was about 7:30 last Saturday morning. And he's like, man, how's the hog looking? I said, well, we're a few degrees behind. I said, this hog was a little bit bigger than we're used to, so our schedule's a little bit behind. I was like, but, it's getting close. We're ready to rest, for an hour or two before we start, getting ready for the box. I said, we're putting a fire to it right now. And he's like, man, I thought y'all had y'all's foot on the gas all night. I watched you, Of course, when how a drum does, when it's dripping on the coals, it looks like it's smoking heavy, but it's really not,
Yeah.
He's like, man, I thought y'all were rolling all night. I said, well, we cooked pretty good, had a good night. I got a little rest, and I said, we got the pedal down right now. I said, we finna ease up and let it rest for about an hour, though.
So on these pits, how often are you having to add a new stick of hickory or add some coals underneath? Are you getting a couple hour burn out of them, or is it every 45 minutes? Like
about every hour to hour and a half.
You need to be, so you got to run. You need somebody to run the fire and swap out and keep them fresh, because
usually the first 2 hours you burn a little bit more just because that hog's so cool. It hadn't come up to temp good yet, but once you wrap, it's locked in. Yeah. I never touch the damper. There's
You're not fighting it.
Not
You're not
fighting
fighting
it
a wind or whatever.
I set me an alarm for about every hour, and I go out there, put a stick in it, and I go back and lay down. And I make sure ain't nothing getting away from us, because, you are running a live fire under this hog, so you do got to be mindful of grease dripping on them coals, the potential it could do.
Yeah.
But we've had no hiccups, and with the vents in the door now on the fire below the hog, we can really control that fire below that hog really, really well.
How big a fire do you think that is? Is there flames in it?
When we start out, yes.
Yeah.
Because I cover the whole bottom of that rack with lit coal when the hog goes in. So the hog goes into a hot box. It's all completely, hitting the bottom of that skin. We're getting as much underneath that hog as we can, because we want that hog to start dripping as soon as we can get it.
You want to render fat.
Right.
It ain't going to do it immediately, but it's going to be quick.
I want to do it within 30 minutes.
Really? It's already dripping within 30?
So the edges of your shoulders and everything, especially up on the front, kind of where I guess you'd say the brisket portion and the front half of that starts dripping pretty good.
Yeah.
And you get most of your drippings from your shoulder and some of the belly. You don't get much from the ham because, the ham's so lean.
Yeah.
You talk about rest. We talk about you got to rest everything from steaks to briskets but how do you rest a whole hog? And how important is that?
So it's important. It is tricky resting on this pit because you have to be mindful of the coals underneath. Just like you're cooking on your drum, if you take the lid off that drum and walk away, it's going to get to rolling.
Yeah.
So what I usually do, once I get to, say, the shoulders are in the 185, 190, and it's coming on up to the temp we're wanting, I start pulling coals out from under that hog.
Slowly?
Slowly.
Yeah.
And I transfer those coals to the firebox.
So that's a great thing about the design on this pit. It's easy to, if it was getting away from you, you just jerk them out.
You can put them in the firebox, and I can shut that pit down.
Yeah.
Like, I can stop the heat from going from the firebox to the cook chamber. You just close the vents, and it's no problem. I can run that pit at 170 degrees. I can go from our cooking temp, 300 plus, to 170 degrees in just a few minutes. And just open a couple of doors, let it cool off, and then set the vents, close the doors. So like last week, that's exactly what I did. I pulled everything out, put the coal, put all the fire in the normal offset firebox, and just let it kind of just settle down. And then I'd put some little splits on there about every hour, and it would run 170, 180, and we're just holding it right there in that temp,
So that's how you rest it. You just pull the heat from it and let it just kind of slow down.
Slow down, and just really you don't want to move a lot of air across that hog at that point because it's resting. You have a lot of moisture under that foil. A lot of the moisture's come to the top. The belly's full of moisture. I want to keep all that moisture on there. And it's hot. I don't want that airflow running across it, pulling moisture off of it. So I want the airflow to slow down.
So what happens during that rest? That it'll hopefully absorb that liquid back?
It's going, yes and no. The biggest thing I notice in a rest, and I've told you all this, and we've talked about this before, is when we're going in there building that box, this goes back to me at KCBS. When I'm building a box, I don't want to see steam come out of that product while I'm working with it because that's moisture leaving. So I want that hog to slow down enough to where it's down around 170 in the shoulder, 165, and then when you break into that shoulder or you pull that loin out, you don't see steam leaving. So I want it to calm down enough to where that hog will quit steaming under that foil. And then to me, everything's went back to where it's supposed to. It's calmed down because just like I said, like if you take a pork butt straight off a pellet grill and break into it, steam's going out, and everything on that surface dries out instantly.
15 minutes later, it's dry as a bone.
Dry as a bone.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. I've never thought of it that way, but if you're pulling something and it steams
if it's steaming, that's all your work leaving.
Your moisture.
And so the deal with it is that moisture is being pushed out of that meat. That's that cooking process.
Yeah.
It's closer to the surface. Well, that rest lets it cool off, lets it calm down, and it doesn't soak it back in like a sponge, like you're thinking it pull moisture in, but it cools off enough to where that moisture is not ready to turn into steam.
Right.
And it goes back into those muscle fibers that you've got tender, and that's what keeps it moist.
It's definitely a visual. That's something else I taught, everybody thinks like all these injections, you're putting liquid in there and you're trying to cook that liquid off at the same time. The biggest key for us with injection is we're trying to put flavor in there. We're trying to put salt in that hog. We're not really worried about the moisture aspect because you're getting most of your moisture should come from the marbling, the fat. But still, though, what little bit of moisture and steam's in there, that's a mouthfeel thing. So if you can keep it in there, you can tell. It's not just strictly just fat moisture at that point. You're actually, keeping some of it in there under the bark and under the surface of that meat.
And it makes it juicy.
Makes it juicier.
Well, let me ask y'all this. Let's say I said, okay, we got a challenge. There's a brick pit out back. Could y'all cook a hog on it?
Oh, yeah.
With my eyes closed.
All day. I mean, I've been a part of several of those, and that's like when we talk about cooking hogs, that's what's fun. I mean, you've got to get crews like Mark's talking about. You've usually got a burn barrel, burning a fire. You've got to shovel those coals, put them under the hog. Somebody's got to stay with it around the clock. And so that's the challenge of it.
Pans.
Now, could you do it by yourself? You'd be wore smooth out from running a hog because you're looking at 20-plus hours of shoveling, keeping the fire going, getting that hog right. You got to flip them halfway because it doesn't get any top heat.
Right.
It's only getting bottom heat. So most of the time with those, they start that hog out, belly down, halfway through, they'll flip it over to get the skin right and finish it up. And so we kind of, and that's the great thing about Jay's pit, is we skip that step.
You got to flip.
You don't have to flip it because you're cooking from the top and the bottom with the way the charcoal goes, the way I'm going to call them flavor baskets. The way the flavor baskets work, they provide heat and flavor from the bottom. And
two, I've never seen a pit move this much air during, like when you have it running 325, the exhaust, it'd blow a whistle. You could put a whistle over top of it, it'd blow it. It is moving some air.
Yeah. What's the benefit to much air moving?
In my opinion, you're keeping fresh smoke, fresh air. You're constantly moving the air through the chamber. There's no chance that and you've seen this, like we've thought we're running this stick burner dirty. You're not. Like I've run an outlaw dirty in my mind thinking it's dirty and you never notice it. Like you never see the color change. You never see the flavor change. Like I think you just about have to run some of these pits a smidge dirtier than what you get told. Because if you're just like, oh, you got to have that thin blue smoke, you can't taste nothing.
It's like these neutral.
A stick burner run
like
right will run it'll run cleaner than a pellet grill.
Yeah. But the flavor is like a pellet grill. You don't have the...
So I think a lot of times just moving a lot of air, even if you do have a few minutes where maybe that stick didn't light as quick, that smoke's already out of the pit before it can do anything anyway. Like your dirty smoke's already moved across. Who cares? Don't worry about it. It's moving so much air that, you got a larger window to run greener wood or to run whatever goes wrong. If you put some charcoal in it, runs dirty for a minute, it don't matter. That smoke's already gone. In 2 minutes, it's running clean. It's gone.
Explain running dirty to me.
It's thicker white smoke, and usually that comes from higher moisture than the wood you're burning. To me, that's dirty. Where people say it's dirty because it's not getting enough oxygen to burn to combust properly, so it's doing more smoldering and smoking than it is flaming. That's probably the easiest way I can explain it. What do you think?
So you have that's a loaded question.
It is.
So you have what I call hot dirty, which is when your wood's too dry, which you don't notice this on a pit that does not draw. So if you have, a char grill or something that, doesn't have a huge exhaust stack, doesn't draw air really fast, it'll run fine on those super dry sticks. But if you have a pit that has an insulated firebox that draws air like crazy, that's literally like a vacuum chamber, it's pulling so much air, you have so much heat built in that firebox that if you put something in there that dry, it ignites. I've seen them ignite before they even got to the coals. Like, boom, just light up. And you'll have a real, real bright orange flame almost. And it does, it burns so hot that it's not enough oxygen. It's basically turning straight BTUs. and it'll leave these little heat monkeys. I guess you'd call it soot monkeys. That's hot dirty. And then you got cold dirty, which is like you're saying, you don't have a big enough coal bed to burn that wood efficiently, or the wood's too wet.
Or the oxygen's restricted.
So you have two types of dirty fires, in my opinion. I like running wetter wood in Outlaw because the firebox is so hot. I mean, it can handle it. The coal bed's so big, it can handle it. If I was running an uninsulated pit, then, yeah, you can get away with drier wood. And I've told a lot of people this is, like, say if you do have a pit that's running hot dirty, all you got to do is open your firebox door and let cold air mix in that firebox and cool that firebox off. You're not going to notice a temperature difference in your cooking chamber, but you're just going to cool that firebox off. That's the reason these Texas pits that run with the firebox wide open, they run so good, is because it's mixing all that outside cool air with their hot fire, and by the time it goes in the cook chamber, it's perfect. So that's what you got to watch for.
Learning your pit.
Learning your pit.
Learning your pit.
It's a never-ending thing.
Yeah.
And conditions change too, by the air temperature, the humidity in it.
Yep.
The reason
all that.
You look, if a contest gets rain, a stick burner is going to do really well, because stick burners love rain because it's pulling that moisture and that humidity through that fire and in your cook chamber. We always do good when it rains. I love it when it rains at a contest. That's like I love it.
Excited?
Yes. Give me some rain.
What pits do not do good in rain? Y'all.
That open brick pit we're shoveling coal under.
Something uninsulated that you got to pour the fire to.
And two, pits have come such a long ways. Like you walk around a contest now and look at these pits. I mean, everybody's cooking on something insulated, most likely, or drums. And drums are so forgiving. I mean, they don't care what temperature it is outside. I mean, they don't care if it rains or not. You know, the only time I've seen a drum act up is if, you know, they have the vents on the side and wind can blow right in it. You know, that's the only thing you really got to watch. But cooking now is not what cooking 20 years ago was.
Yeah. There's a lot of engineering that's going into these pits nowadays.
A lot.
So what about when y'all were cooking in that storm a few weeks back and you noticed the barometric change?
It wasn't a storm. It was a
tornado.
Yeah. So what did that do to y'all?
So I wish I was smarter so I could tell you exactly. But so we was at a contest Friday night. A tornado literally come 2 miles from the contest. Big storm come through. Temperature dropped. But we was running the same exact fire we always run. And I know exactly what temperature that'll give us, like to the T. And we were anywhere from 75 to 100 degrees down on the dial, but the fire was the same size. And we could not figure it out. And our hog took 2 hours longer. And the only thing we figured, everybody I talked to that was cooking on a pit that drafted naturally, that was not using a forced induction like a fan, they all had the same thing. It's like, we're running the same size fire, but the temperature's not there.
And you think it was from the air pressure?
It was one of them barometer pressures or something.
Yeah.
It was something changing the atmosphere.
Yeah. And
I've seen it happen one other time to where, as a matter of fact, we was cooking a rib contest up at the 10th inning. And all the stick burners were running the same temp, but it just seemed like the cook was slower. And I talked to Jay on the way home. He said, I had 15 to 20 people call me across the nation with the same exact, theory. And
after a major front,
come through, and everybody's like, man, my temperature is right where it's supposed to be, but my cook's 30 minutes later or an hour later.
Yeah.
And he's like, we had multiple people call, and I'm talking about anywhere from Georgia to Arizona to South Dakota, like across the nation. He had all these phone calls come in with the same exact, situation going on in the pit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so there's a lot of things that are way above my pay grade in education that goes on in the cook.
And way above your control, too. Yeah.
But that's when it's nice to have a good stick burner and you just open that exhaust up and let it breathe.
Let it roll.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she'll
from experience, to look for that next time if you're cooking under those conditions. Where you're like, hey, we're going to speed this up a little.
Like when we cooked in Galax, first time ever cooking in elevation.
And altitude definitely has an effect.
Knowing when our brisket usually goes well above 207, she stopped at 207 and she wasn't going no further.
We learned that cooking hogs up at, we were at 9,000 feet up there
in South Dakota.
Yeah. And it was taking us where we were cooking. We were used to cooking a 18 to 20 hour hog. We were cooking a 26 hour hog up there. It just never would break that, that where you get that stall point.
And y'all were cooking for like a meal.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
people
yeah.
were showing up, and y'all
it
were
was,
like,
bad
it was
feeling.
very, very nerve wracking that we were going to get this hog done.
and y'all
We-
thought y'all were like, we got plenty of
way
time.
ahead.
Yeah.
But it just never would break because altitude did something to the way the evaporative cooling was working on the meat, where it wouldn't letting that moisture go. It just would not let it go. No matter how you had it wrapped up, pouring the heat to it, didn't matter. And finally, we just figured out it takes time. But if you think about it, why do they put those altitude directions on the back of cake mixes and things like that? It changes. Altitude changes you. So we learned that we just have to give extra time. There's no and pull the injection back.
Right.
You don't need to add extra moisture if you're cooking in certain conditions, like altitude especially. You want less moisture because the meat still got the moisture in it. You add a bunch extra, it's going to take you a lot longer to cook it out.
What we've been doing since then, which I've done it on the last 4 hogs, is we document the temperature of the pit and the temperature of the whole shoulder, ham, loin every 30 minutes. And we keep documenting. I got a notebook of every cook since then done it. And on average, we do a degree every 3 minutes is our
Wow.
when I know I see that, like, okay, we're on
on
schedule,
track.
everything's
A
good.
degree every 3 minutes
Every 3
Now,
minutes.
you're talking about keeping
through
it
the
pro-
entire cook.
It slows down a little bit once it hits about 170, but not a lot.
That's your stall, 170. in those
170.
hogs?
And you'll see it. I mean, it's neat to watch because every hog does it identically. Like, you have a trend there. Like, you'll watch your loin will stay back for a long time. Shoulder and hams will get ahead of it, and then once the shoulder and hams get up around 180, that loin starts coming on in, and you can watch it. I mean, it's
Does
neat.
it speed up when it comes in?
Yeah, it'll speed on up. But the Toka hog was a degree every 9 minutes,
So that's how much slower it was. So it was,
a third
yeah,
or 3 times as slow.
3 times as slow.
And that's when the pressure changed.
Mhm.
That's the hog.
That's when the pressure changed in the atmosphere and on me, because I was like, crap, we ain't going to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And were you fireballing it at that point?
Hey, we were pushing pretty hard.
Yeah.
But that's something else is like yes, you want that hog to be perfect when you go to pull it and build your box. But what I've learned is that's a big animal. You can find some good bites on it. You know,
That's what I like about the hog.
you can
There's some
always,
places on it that's good.
when you're cooking a rib, if your rib's tight, guess what? That rib's freaking tight. Or you're cooking a shoulder by itself. That shoulder's tight, that whole shoulder's tight. With the hog, you
You're
got
working with a lot more.
you can find some good stuff.
If you know where to go get it.
Yeah.
Where do you go get it?
So
Off the hog.
Around the eyes,
Yeah.
tail.
That rooter and
You
tutor.
get it down there. That's the best place. Nose meat. That's what you want to put in there, the nose meat.
The best part.
Judges love it.
But we like I said earlier, we've learned a lot. I was glad to have some judges come back after finals and talk to us and, tell us what they did like and what we could work on. And that means a lot, man. That's the first time going home what to work on for the next one.
Yep.
Whereas if you don't have that judge come back or you don't have that comment card telling you exactly, you're kind of guessing,
Yeah. I always like that about cooking MBN. And
Especially starting out.
getting that feedback is crucial when you're starting out, when you're trying to figure things out. Now, if you know you're doing pretty good, you're on the right track. You're getting to the point where y'all are right there with that hog, so you don't have to get as much feedback from it every time. But it helps from a new team, especially, to talk to those judges, and you don't get that in a lot of sanctioning groups. That's why I always like that Memphis In May style, because not only are you putting in a blind box, you're getting to talk to that judge, present it to them how you cooked it, and then hopefully a good judge will come back and be honest with you, not just tell you, oh, it's great. You want the constructive. What was wrong with it? What do you think I could do better?
I've had a few times where you've not liked what they had.
Well, at the time, I don't want it, but when I have time to sit back, you got to eat crow sitting there. A lot of times you done blowed a lot of smoke to them, and then they come back and they tell you what's wrong, and you're trying there to have a smile and
We tried to fool you.
yeah, we tried. That's all you can say.
And
Most
I
of
agree.
the time, I know.
All
Yeah,
three
what
judges
they're
that come
gonna
back
say.
all had a very like-minded opinion, which I was
Which
like, all right.
then
And I
it's
agreed with
real.
it.
Yeah.
I knew our loin was our strongest thing going last weekend. Like, I knew our loin was money. I knew the ham was right there with it, and I knew our shoulder was the weak point. And I much rather have that because I know we can correct the shoulder. Most people struggle with the ham and loin, and I'm glad that we had that there, and we just get the shoulder where we want it. And again, that goes back to this was a 175-pound hog. We're used to cooking 140. So that was a learning curve we had to kind of adapt and overcome in the moment.
What's the sweet spot for you on weight?
If I could just tell you, if it's a Carolina hog, 140.
If it's a
Mississippi
hog,
Mississippi hog, I'd like 150 or a little bit bigger. The Carolina hogs have such a big loin on them that you get that big loin and it's easier to slow it down. Whereas a lot of time these other hogs, like they're a great hog, but the loin isn't a big, so you got to go a few more extra steps to make sure to like insulate that loin.
Yeah,
slow that
breed.
loin.
Is that a breed thing?
I'm
Or,
assuming.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is still a Duroc. It's just it's a pasture-raised, free grazing Duroc. So I don't know.
That probably has more to do with it when they're food, so their diet
Mm-hmm.
on the size of them. Because, I mean, like you said, well, just that tells me that on the size of the loins, because they breed these hogs for loin size. If you're getting a smaller one, it's probably had more exercise. It didn't have time to develop. These other hogs, they just probably blasted them with food.
Right.
They're getting them there as quick as they can and feeding them a really good diet, but it's making their loins grow bigger because they're genetically controlling how they're doing these hogs.
Yeah.
Not by like giving them medications and things like that, but they're doing it through diet, through their activity, through breeding,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and selecting the sizes they want. So, I mean, that big loin hog's probably not the one they want at the grocery store.
Mm-mm.
They want, the long ones of a certain average size. They don't
The
want
loins
big, fat
almost
monster ones.
Too big. But
Really?
it's easy to, I mean, it's a lot easier to cook.
Is it a squattier hog?
Yeah.
Not as long?
It's not as long. It's a little short.
Stubby,
Yeah.
like a fire hydrant hog?
Mr. Chubb.
Aside from hog, are we ready for everything else that we're cooking at Memphis in May?
Yeah. I mean, Mark, you're taking on beef this year, right? Besides
Doing,
Hey,
we're,
Mark's kind of
doing brisket.
doing all the cooking.
we're
He's doing the beef and the hog.
Yeah.
beef and hog, and we'll do
I
poultry.
mean, hog is a whole thing. You got to have several people there.
Yeah, we'll have some good help with that. We got Jay coming down, Alex coming down. I'm sure Jamie and everybody else, we'll all be there.
Brian,
Yeah.
Brian,
Mikey will be there.
Mikey will be there. We'll kind of have it
Yeah,
staged to where hopefully me and Jay can get the hogs on and get everything cruising and then let y'all get some sleep, and about 6:30, 7 o'clock, that morning we'll be ready to wrap and all that good stuff. So,
But we're doing beef, chicken, wings, turkey, exotic,
Seafood.
and
Seafood.
seafood.
Sauces.
I'm going back for my first place poultry again.
Oh, you're doing chicken too?
Yeah,
Okay,
well, you
okay.
can't not do chicken after you get first
Yeah,
place
you're
last
right,
year
you're right.
with the perfect
So
score.
you're doing beef and chicken?
Yeah.
Are you cooking it all in Outlaw?
Every bit of it will be.
Are you doing the same chicken? Or are you doing legs? Or
I'm doing the
wings?
same chicken. I ain't saying I'm doing the same box that
chicken.
won it last year. Guess
Yeah.
what? We're turning it in again.
Doing it again this year. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm gonna not confuse them on the beef this year, though. They just gonna get some good brisket.
Yeah. But last year we did brisket and ribeye or filet.
Yeah, A9 fillets and A9 brisket in the same box, and
It was like a
Yeah.
flight.
it was
Flight o' beef.
Yeah,
I've always had believed that you give judges too many options. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like they don't know what to do with their hands.
that was 2 of the best pieces of beef I've ever ate
I
last
believe
year.
I wish you could have,
Yeah.
if you could
I
have
agree.
told them that this is
Yes.
filet, this is brisket, because they might have thought, man, he cooked that one that good, but he overcooked the crap out of
Yeah,
this other one.
exactly.
That's
Like-
past well done.
And see, in my mind, I was,
Falling apart.
I was like, we're gonna give them both ends of the spectrum. We'll give them perfect medium rare filet, and then we're gonna get them perfectly cooked brisket, and let them try everything beef. Get it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And
Most of those judges don't know as much about barbecue as they probably should.
yeah, it backfired.
Especially ancillaries. I mean,
Yeah, especially ancillaries.
But I'm gonna be honest. After last year, I hope. Everybody always says ancillaries is the curse of death.
oh, if you do good. Oh, you don't want to do
Yeah.
good in
I really don't
ancillaries?
even want to hear our name called
Yeah.
ancillaries.
Yeah.
I kind of want that Saturday name call more than I do the
Any
Fridays.
of the others.
Friday was fun, but the whole time I'm thinking this is not going to be good.
Yeah,
for
you know,
tomorrow. Yeah.
if you go up on stage 2 or 3 times on Friday, that you're probably not going on Saturday.
It's just how it goes. I don't know why. It's
I
like
don't
you
know
use
why.
up all your luck on one day or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I don't even know if we might not even cook nothing, Turney. We're just gonna save it all.
just finish last in all of them. Man, we had a horrible contest.
It was fun, and I'm glad we did get to walk the stage some, and it was cool experiences for especially like first timers. Alex
Yeah.
never been there, and that was cool for him to get up there and
Yeah,
be a part of
that
it.
was
Russell
Michael's
McCary,
first
the
one
right,
too, yeah.
the Wrights, they'd never. I think that was they've been to Memphis in May before, hadn't they?
Yeah, they
But
that was the first time on stage. I
First
think.
time on stage, yeah.
No, he went up with Waylon.
Oh yeah, he did go with Waylon the year before. Pandemic year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or first year after pandemic.
The first year, the last year was on the river.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the year they had it at like 10 o'clock
It was
at night.
late.
Yeah.
Because I was
What did
like,
we
you coming
finish that
back? And I
year?
was like, no.
Top 10.
What was that for? Was that it was top 10 ribs?
We got, six place ribs.
Yeah, okay. I'll do better than that hog this year.
I hope so. You never know.
You shooting for top 10? You shooting for finals? What are you shooting for?
I mean, I'm not going up there. I'm going up
You're
there
not
for
going up there to
finals.
lose, huh?
I mean, I'm not going up there to get a haircut. So we're going up there to cook.
That's right.
But you never know. I mean, it's a lot of luck goes in that contest.
A lot
Lot
of
of
luck.
It's a lot of work.
Hey,
It's a lot of skill
How many
too.
does this make for us?
This is 20.
20.
Is it 20?
Didn't y'all's first year in pro?
2006 is when we won the backyard.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it
So,
ain't 20 then.
yeah.
I
That's
thought it was
So
2003.
2007 would have been our first year professional.
So however that is.
This is 10 years for me.
Wow.
I started, no, this would be 9 years. 9 years.
At Memphis in May?
Yeah, 'cause we started in 14 with y'all.
Holy smokes, Mark.
That's when you smooth just left me and Jamie up there. We've never cooked a shoulder a day in our life. And Malcolm was like, see y'all in the morning.
That
Hey.
sounds about right.
You got to learn to swim.
And I was like,
in.
in the morning? What? I ain't never even cooked a shoulder. Like, what am I supposed to do?
That pit, oh, Miss Betty, she will cook it herself.
Yeah,
You
if
just start her
feed her
loose.
20 bags of charcoal that night. Mike was like, keep it at 250. I'm back there look like a coal miner just shoveling, trying to keep this pit going. And then that's the first year we cooked Duroc,
Hey, what we do that year?
5th. You're welcome. No, that is my horror story. Everybody's like, what's your love-hate relationship? It's that story right there.
I thought it was the time we did the class that had the crazy
Schedule?
timeline.
No, because that didn't matter. Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah, there was.
I'm
Was
no-
that the
represent-
one Waylon left?
No.
Quit the team?
This was the one you left.
Oh. Was I supposed to be the night man?
No, you didn't tell
Oh, I
us.
said, what did you think I was going to stay?
Me and Jamie didn't even know we were the night man.
That sounds about right.
Mike was like, all right, we'll see y'all in the morning. I was like, who's staying? He's like, y'all are. And I was like,
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah, by the
He
way,
did
you're the
that?
night
yes.
man. If you're new, you're supposed to know you're the night people.
So then
You can't come in and be the lead dog.
we got to get all the
Mark's
story
worked a
out.
long way to be the lead dog.
So y'all leave. Nobody's there. We're supposed to wrap shoulders or whatever. So me and
I
what?
can't believe this.
Were they? This
You
was the year people were
He
just
didn't-
coming up, opening up the cook
Yes,
and
that's the
taking
first year. I
pictures.
didn't know who Eddie was.
He didn't know any of the rest of the people on the team.
So I hear somebody shaking the trailer. I get up and this guy's got the freaking pit open. And I was like,
They're
what the?
taking pictures.
I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, close the freak. He's like, no, I'm here. He's writing notes, And
Yeah.
of course, love Eddie to death. He is thorough. And he was coming to be his night man. And I was like, who's Eddie? I don't know Eddie. But we put 2 and 2 together. And Malcolm told me before he left, he says, do not take these shoulders off until they hit 195 on every alarm. I said, okay. Well, this was the first year you cooked Duroc. Guess what? Where you had them probed, they're never going to hit 195. So at 187, I'm poking. I'm like, these shoulders are done. But Malcolm said, don't take them up to 195. Leave them on there. They keep on cooking. Still don't get to 195. Waylon comes down the hill, and I didn't know Waylon real well
What
either.
time was this? Like 6,
Like
8?
6,
Oh,
yeah. I said, Waylon, Malcolm said take these to 195, but I think they're done. He poked it, and he threw the thermal pin down and walked off. And I was like, I guess we screwed these up.
He was on fire tonight then. Left them go.
So we take 'em-
Sometimes you got to make a judgment call. If I say one thing, ignore that.
You was Malcolm Reed. I was doing whatever you said.
This was 10 years ago, too.
Oh, man.
That's when he was still having a good time out there.
Yeah, that's
I'm
when
sure I had a great time that
that's
day.
when Jim was with us, and it come the flood, and he had his deadliest catch outfit on.
So he was a night man, too.
Yeah,
I
but we,
had all kinds of nightmares. That's the year we had the big 2-story
Yeah.
scaffolding. We tarped it up.
that's when I had to catch the grizzly cooler before it went to
1, 2,
Mississippi
3,
River.
4, 5, 6. I probably had 8 nightmen that night. Mark's not telling you that. There was 8 nightmen.
One of
there.
those nightmen was Ben Pickle. That does not count.
Well, 7.5.
Yes, but he didn't sit down and make a plan.
No.
But yes.
I knew.
And I told him then, I said, next year, you ain't doing this to me. I can't remember what happened.
You got on stage.
I'm glad you stuck around, Mark. I'm glad we didn't run you off.
I wonder every year after leaving Miss May, I was like, I'm done. We ain't
Quit
doing
the
this
team.
next
We doing it
year.
with these jack legs.
I do that every year.
every year. I do it every year.
Sunday morning, you say, we cooking Memphis in May next year?
Nope.
Hell no.
Oh, that's the worst thing about Memphis in May. You got to go back Sunday morning after you get your teeth kicked in on
And you got to go
4
look on the
days.
bulletin board to see how bad it was, and you get
Yeah.
to the 3rd page and your name still ain't on the list. You're like, crap, I ain't even looking no more. Somebody else had to tell me.
It's bad.
It's a love-hate.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. I can't wait either, Mark. You ain't got me pumped up. You got me pumped up.
I got the curtains and the tablecloths all ready to go.
You got our liquor bought yet?
No, that's this week.
All right.
It's going to be good.
I got
I really
one
can't wait.
question.
I'm excited. I hope the weather's
Yeah.
good.
I got one community question that I thought would
Go along with what we're doing.
well, it's something we've been talking about this week at work. This person is looking to make pulled pork for nachos for 85 guests.
Oh yeah, we figured it up. We're gonna get about 15 nachos out of one pork butt. If it's a 8 to 10 pound butt, you should get enough to make about 15. So
How many people? 85?
85.
Cook 5 pork butts, you'll have a little left over. You'll be good to go.
be easy.
They said they'd rather have some
I
leftovers.
do 6 then.
You probably, you can have
Hard
to
to buy
because
5.
it's going to come in
buy
2 packs.
They don't sell. They still sell 2 packs. Sam's went to singles, hadn't they?
Last time I
don't
bought
know.
them, they were single. Well, but I was
Anyway.
buying cases. Yeah.
Anyway, you'll have plenty.
Yeah. 5 to 6 will be enough.
How many was Jamie was having to do? How many? 450
Oh yeah, he's doing.
pulled pork
He
nachos.
bought
Yeah.
like 38 butts.
Oh, really?
That's what he's
He's
doing
a-
this morning. He's cleaning that
Yeah, he
pit.
called me and told me, so I'm gonna be a little late. I gotta clean this pit.
And that pit was rough.
What, the big old
The big
hickory?
rotisserie.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know. Never mind. I'm not telling this on podcast.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I just see
Keep your
when you
pits
say
clean.
that, I just see dollar signs.
No, it's clean. It's just water and steam and
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta know.
not on this podcast.
I'm sure water got in it probably, and it didn't get cleaned last time.
Was there an
It's
animal
probably-
living in there?
No,
Okay.
we would never do that.
There wasn't fish swimming in it.
There was.
Family of coons that moved in.
I didn't tell you what we. I may have. Sorry, I know this is another story. Leaving something in the pit. We cooked a toka, right?
Yeah.
Jay come down to help us cook it. So when we first got the pit fired up, I was like, man, something smells off. I found out when we got home after we done cooked the contest what was off. Our little ash shovel.
Yeah.
We cooked the heck out of it. It stayed in the firebox the
Oh,
whole time.
it was the metal one.
Yeah.
It was just in the firebox.
Yeah, we cooked it up good.
Did it-
It's heat
What
treated now.
It's heat treated. It's
What is
real
it?
hard.
Does it work? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it works.
It's steel. It was just in there.
It's carbon steel now. Like
Yeah.
it's hot. I was like, man, I don't know what that smell is. It kind of smells like paint burning.
It probably
It
was.
It was. 4th place painted hog right there.
Four painted. Man, what kind of carcinogens did that put off?
We just wouldn't left that shovel in. We might have done better.
Yeah, you might have had finals that day.
There was one comment in the community I thought was funny. It just said, "There's a possum living behind my Blackstone.
Hey,
What do I do?"
Lure him out with some cat food, pop him in the head.
you just they'll play possum.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
Yeah, you scare you. Holler at them. They'll fall over. You pick them up. Possum's really a cool animal.
Mm,
You don't like them? I like them. I kind of like them.
they kind of creep me out. It's kind of like an armadillo. They creep
Really?
me out too.
You didn't see the dude on TikTok? He's got a pet possum. He takes the store and stuff with him.
Does he put it in outfit?
Yeah, no, I didn't see him dress it up or nothing, but I did see a dude with a little monkey he had dressed up.
What kind of TikTok rabbit hole you done went down?
You know, Shell sends me these pictures of TikToks of cats, and next thing you know, I'm getting every animal like the thing on Wild Kingdom on my feed.
I love
You watch
Malcolm's TikTok algorithm. Like I could stay on there for hours.
Is it boobs and cats?
Oh, it's
Boobs and cats.
a lot of thick women.
Never mind. We ain't going there. That could go down a rabbit hole quick.
Yeah, there's a little sports mixed in.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of sports mixed in.
That's about it.
Man, it's awesome.
Yeah, they're not going to pin me down on one thing on an algorithm. Mine goes all over the place. I get a lot of Theo Vaughn too. I guess. Do y'all do that? Do y'all get him?
I
on
did for a
yours?
while. I'm on that other stand-up comedian now. I can't think what his name is. The little young guy that like interacts with the audience.
Yep. I can't
What's his
remember
name?
Nate Bergazzi.
No,
He's not young.
Oh,
I can't think what the guy's
There's a
name.
few of them, but
Yeah, I was
can't-
fixing
Oh,
you're gonna
it
have to
is-
narrow that down.
Yeah, this guy. I'd love to go see this guy. I wouldn't want to sit on the front row, but I'd love to go see this guy.
is he hard on him?
He's pretty good. He's-
They're all doing crowd work these days. Anyway, well, that's about all the time we have.
Hey,
today.
what happened with our contest we were running for the spring clean?
So it's all over. I was waiting on 2 people to answer me, but I think everybody else's prizes should be like shipped and almost to y'all by now. We are going to be doing a new giveaway pretty soon because we did just start what we're calling Malcom in May. If you guys can see, go back in the podcast here, I'll change the thing to be on Malcom for a second. So we do have some new apparel. And so
What
we're
you got on?
Man, this is my How to Barbecue Right and Miller Lite inspired shirt. Hope they don't sue me over it.
We do have a few more options as well, but we are going to be doing a giveaway with those. So if you guys want to get prepared for
How to
that,
Barbecue, can you see it?
I got the Hot Grill Summer one.
and the Hot
Oh,
Grill
you got
Summer
Hot
shirt,
Grills-
that one's a little,
Hot Grill Summer.
yeah, that one's a little delayed. So that one's not quite up
Oh,
yet.
is it not?
You got the limited edition one.
Yeah,
Limited
yeah,
edition.
yeah. It's
I like
coming.
that color.
But
Sagey.
there are a few other options as well. So those will be live.
Tyler, you got one on too.
I do. Hold on.
Are you finna get up model? Oh my God.
We
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, get in there with Bart. You can spin it around.
There you go.
You can see it. I don't know. You can see that. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of
Beachy.
pig on the beach.
Yeah,
What
pig
does
on
it
the
say?
beach.
Sizzle, sip, repeat. He's even got a bottle of rub spill on the bottom. That's the summer hog shirt. But anyway,
So we're going to be giving some of those away. So if you guys want to get prepared for that, make sure you guys head on over to facebook.com/H2Q community. And if you guys want to check out all of Malcolm's favorite recipes, make sure you guys head on over to HowToBBQRight.com, and you can download us on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store.
Mark, where can they find you?
At a hog contest.
in Bull,
Yeah.
Bull, Mississippi this week.
No, y'all can check us out on Swine Life BBQ. Shoot us any emails if y'all got questions. We're on YouTube. I'm in the dark on YouTube right now, but I'm always there if you need. I check comments as much as I can.
You're over on Buck Junkies too. Doing
Yeah,
some
over
gun
Buck
stuff.
Junkies. That's what you keep me too busy around here to do other stuff.
You're cooking hogs. You're doing barbecue. You're doing all kinds of stuff.
2
Bush
weeks, you'll
hogging.
see us on stage holding that big trophy.
That's
hopefully.
right. That's right. Shell, tell them about how good Blue Plate mayonnaise is.
It's the best mayonnaise on the planet.
Quality, real mayonnaise since 1927. One of the only mayonnaises that still uses a lot of egg yolks in the recipe, right, Tyler?
Right. And if you're looking for that specific packaging that you can see in the screen right there, it's not available. They did change it up a little bit. They kind of went with a retro logo. So if y'all are looking for it on store shelves, make sure y'all are looking for the retro logo.
And check out the hot and spicy one. That one's really good.
Really good.
Hashtag spread the love.
Hashtag spread the love. I like that, show.
And if you'd like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and of course YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on Instagram.
You connect at Memphis in May in 2 weeks. We're
Yep.
going to be down there. Bullfrogs will be in effect.
Don't come
Have a
in
good
unless you're
time.
bringing luck.
Bring some luck with us. Yeah.
Good
Right.
vibes and love.
Yeah. If you got a black cat with you, you are not allowed in the booth.
We'll have one more podcast before Memphis in May, right? Next week.
Yes. Actually,
And then-
two.
Oh, we're going to do one, like do one before the
Yeah.
contest?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's still going to feel like we got some time then.
Hopefully, we're still excited by then.
Oh, I'm excited. We're gonna have a meeting tomorrow. I'm scheduling with y'all right now. Tomorrow we're gonna have an out office meeting. It's gonna be at one of my local favorite water
For
holes.
breakfast.
It's gonna be about brunch time, and there will be tacos involved, and
I'm
possibly
down.
margaritas.
Breakfast margarita.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll be back next week to talk more barbecue and how to do it right. Thank y'all for listening. We gone.